Hello everybody, welcome to my week 1 battle for the Pokemon Deity League Division 2. I'm Smeargle, your coach of the Anaheim Azelfs. So my opponent has brought with him to his draft. Going up again, I just had a stroke. My opponent for week 1 is Eevees, coach of the Essex Eevees. Their team is pretty annoying and kind of scary. So it consists of Tapu Lele, Crocodile, Heliolisk, Heracross, Arcanine, Hisuian, Articuno, Mega Aggron, Dragonite, Vaporeon, Sceptile, and Duosion. You can tell by my team that Lele is a very big threat. I will go over it again in case you're blind, I guess. Protean Greninja, Slowbro, Snorlax, Mienshao, Palisand, Colossal, Mega Scizor, Enamorus, Vileplume, Duraludon, and Raichu. So, I got my work cut out for me this game. I have very telegraphed answers to Tapu Lele, being Snorlax and Scizor, but Scizor is among the best answers to Tapu Lele in this sort of format where Hidden Power's banned, and its dual stab is resisted. Its only real move to hit it is Focus Blast. I guess unless he wants to run a Nature's Madness set of some kind. The annoying thing is that Bullet Punch is blocked by his terrain, obviously, but obviously I could just run Iron Head and mitigate that. I just don't get the coverage outside of terrain, which that's a trade I'm willing to take. It would really only be helpful for Dragonite if that gets up a few dances, and I think I can still hit that even if terrain is up because it's flying. But yeah, I've just got U-Turn, Iron Head, Toxic, and Roost on there. Aside from that, Vaporeon, Arcanine, Aggron, all check. Regular Mega Scizor, the set I wanted to run, which was Swords Dance to this game. So I just decided to go with a really standard bulky one with just max HP and then some speed and some stuff. Vaporeon and Aggron together are really annoying for my team to deal with as a whole. Vaporeon's a very solid Protean Grunt answer, like it's decent. And switching on my Water Stab, and it checks Enamorus decently well, and it's an okay answer to like Mienshao if you want to use it for that. And then it can roar out Snorlax and poison it, so that's kind of annoying. Aggron is a very solid check to like a lot of my offense. Greninja is like my main breaker for it because it can even take on Mienshao decently well. If Mienshao is something I choose to bring to this game, which spoilers, I don't. It's very annoying to deal with one of my mons. Checks Duraludon. If I don't have Focus Blast, which I'm pretty sure Duraludon gets. I could be wrong about that, though. Checks Scizor amazingly. That's another reason I couldn't bring SD. The main Pokemon in the way of that was Aggron. I expect, like, just a defensive set. Fire Punch and Heavy Slam and stuff like that, so... Yeah. Let's just get right into what I brought. The Scizor set's been on your screen for a while. Iron Head, U-Turn, Roost, Toxic. Toxic is really handy because it forces out Heal Bells. I actually brought Toxic on a few members of my team. I know Palisand has it, and I think there's something else on my team that does. Actually, I think that's it. Just those two. But those two come in so often and force a lot of switches on his defensive core. So that's handy enough. It forces out Heal Bells on the Vaporeon. This Toxic also allows me to not be set up on by Dragonite fully. I can Toxic it, make sure its multi-scale's broken, force it to just Roost if it has it, use its Heal Bells if he chooses to bring that. If he brings a DD Heal Bell Dragonite, I'm actually kind of worried about that, but that means that the chip will stick to it, which is pretty nice. Bringing a Scarfer that outruns it at +1, and a decent amount of my mons can take one hit from it at +1. Scizor, I'm pretty sure, can take a Fire Punch if he's not adamant, but I don't know. This battle was like a month ago, pretty much. I've already drafted my second team by now. I'm just waiting to play my first game of the second team, which is actually going to be tonight. Iron Head is there so I can reliably kill Lele no matter what. I mean, this just switches in on Lele pretty much guaranteed, as well as Crook. Unless Crook is like CB with Fire Fang, he has to lock into that for it to be a thing. If I just go into Scizor and he's like locked into Knock, Earthquake. Earthquake will do a lot to me, but I'm max HP, so I should be able to take that decently well. And then I just force it out, and it can just Roost. Toxic also helps me with the Arcanine if that chooses to come, because that is kind of an annoying mon, even though it's like neutral to Iron Head. Intimidate still fucks with me, and if he's Helmet, that's kind of annoying. So, and obviously Roost is there so I can check Lele throughout the game. So yeah. Up next we have Palisand, which is fully Spadef, just to take one from the Lele if I need to. I can even take a Grass Knot with this max def investment. And yeah, it also checks the Vaporeon, lets me take a Scald, so I can poison that if I really need to do that, as well as, I can counter the Heliolisk, I can take a Grass Knot from that. If I can take a Grass Knot from the Lele, I can take a Grass Knot from the Heliolisk, so Articuno's kind of annoying for this. I really don't expect to see it, though, mostly because it lets Scizor set up pretty much for free, unless he has Roar, in which case, like, he'll need, like, move slots for that, and I don't think he can afford them. He just has better mons against my team, like Lele and Crook. Aggron, Vaporeon, Dragonite. I expect to see all 5 of those. The last slot could go to it, but I kind of expect actually in that slot, not Sceptile because there's no hidden Power Fire. I actually kind of expected Arcanine in that slot, even though it doesn't get rocks. Yeah, actually his only rockers I think are Crook and Aggron. So if Arcanine got rocks, that would be like guaranteed I think because he could run like an offensive Crook, a setup on Aggron, and then like something with the some defensive Arcanine. But the last one I actually kind of expect. Yeah, it was like the main thing I expected to see that in Heracross, were the main 2 in the 6th slot. But I knew Lele, Crook, Aggron, Vaporeon, all those were coming. Lele, Crook, Aggron, Vaporeon, and D-Knight. The last slot was a bit up in the air, but yeah. I ended up going with this sort of set. This checks like a lot of his mons relatively well. I can take an offensive Dragonite naturally with my good defense because of my HP investment. +1 dual wing beat doesn't do that much to me. I can poison it and shore up and be good against that mon. I can take a hit from Lele, like I said, do some good damage with Shadow Ball. Poison, I can just heal up reliably. Like, this thing just is a solid defensive check. Not really much else to say. It takes on his team pretty well. Still stab is nice. I wanted to fit rocks, but I needed all 4 of these moves. I needed to be able to do damage to Aggron because this is pretty much my only switch into it. So yeah. Up next we have Ren, Life Orb Modest. The speed is enough because just to I think excuse me, I think it's speed tie with Heliolisk or outrun it. I don't know. I think it's speed ties with Heliolisk, but I was like, I just want to run Modest. I don't think he's gonna run a timid max speed Heliolisk. If he's bringing Heliolisk, odds are it'll be Scarfed to check Greninja and outspeed like an Amoris if I'm Choice Scarfed, or outspeed Bienxiao if I'm Choice Scarfed, stuff like that. So yeah, I decided to bring this set. Gong Shot's obviously there for Lele. It just kills it even if I'm Modest because routine is broken. And yeah, these moves do a lot. Again, Articuno is kind of a good check to this, but I really don't expect to see it. Taunt is nice for the Articuno, though, stops it from roosting. I can stop stuff from setting up rocks, stop the D-Knight from setting up on me. If he, I don't know, stop the D-Knight from setting up in general. I can stop the Aggron from setting up. I can stop the Sceptile from setting up. But I can do all those things anyway with Ice Beam, so maybe U-Turn was better. Taunt actually is really mainly for the Vaporeon as well. And that was the main reason I had that on there instead of U-Turn, so I decided to bring that. Taunt is very nice for Vaporeon. And if he's got the multi-scale intact on the D-Knight, I can taunt and stop that thing from potentially sweeping me. Next up we have Curse Lax. This is kind of standard. I put the defense investment on there because I wanted to be able to take a hit from Heracross if he's banded, and I have a Curse up. I wanted to be able to do that in general. That's what Heat Crash is there for. That and Articuno, obviously, both get murked by that, and Heliolisk as well gets destroyed by that. I think that does more damage than Earthquake, but I'm not sure. Off the top of my head, I think it does more. EQ does a number, and then his normal resists, obviously you're weak to it. D-Knight, not D-Knight, Aggron, obviously can swallow Earthquakes, but any damage on that is good damage. If I can Body Slam, para that, and then get an Earthquake off on it on the next turn, that would be ideal. That'd be really good. And then obviously Earthquake destroys the Arcanine, which otherwise walls me completely. So, yeah, just Chopple, Curse, no recovery on this. I just wanted to get some good damage. Maybe use this as a defensive check if need be, to stuff like Heliolisk, to stuff like D-Knight, and to stuff like the Sceptile. This is actually my best check to it if the Sceptile comes, besides Scizor, I guess. But Scizor I want to be able to use to check Lele and Crook. So, yeah, if Sceptile comes and turns into an issue, this is an answer I have, as well as the Vileplume I'm bringing, but I expect Acrobatics on that thing if it shows up. And then next up we have Raichu. This is Scarfed. He's Electric Resists, don't like Focus Blast. Like, just in general, T-Bolt just hits everything on his team. I don't expect Sceptile to show up, but like I said, I do have Snorlax, Scizor, and Vileplume to help deal with that if it does show up. So yeah, I just brought Scarfed, enough speed for the Heliolisk, Focus Blast to demolish that if that needs to be the thing I have to do. Nuzzle, just in case the Lele gets out of hand, if he brings Scarfed and I want to paralyze that, I have a guaranteed way to do that. And I don't have to worry about Taunt or T-Wave missing. Focus Blast obviously hits the Crook as well, and then just T-Bolt is amazing versus him. Just offensive electric. This thing is really weak, but if I get enough chip on everything, this thing could potentially fuck him up if I am given the chance. And then finally we have a fully Fizdef Vileplume with a Payapa Berry, obviously for the Lele. If it, again, gets rowdy, I could just Sludge Bomb it and do a shitload of damage, or kill it if I have chip on it from something like a U-Turn from Scizor, a Shadow Ball from Palisand, Dark Pulse from Greninja, Body Slam from Snorlax, or T-Bolt would put it in range of that. Even I think a Volt Switch probably does too from Raichu. Pretty much like anything on my team puts it in range. If I Giga Drain it on the Switch, if he expects me to make a defensive play, like a Strength Sap, he tries to bring it in, and then a Giga Drain as it comes in, I can Sludge Bomb it on the next turn and kill it. So, yeah, Sleep Powder's really nice. Everything on his team gets affected by it, except Sceptile, which is never switching in on this. Yeah, just the Dual Stab is nice, and then Strength Sap lets me stay healthy, because that move is not balanced at all. So, let's hop right into the battle, shall we? Bang. This is like a 11-minute team builder section. So yeah, my opponent has on his person he brought with him a Mega Aggron, a Heliolisk, a Tapu Lele, and a Mega Aggron, a Heliolisk, a Lele, a Crook, a D-Knight, and a Vaporeon. So yeah, like I said, 5 I expected, the 6 slot was interchangeable. I really did expect to see Arcanine in that last slot. Seeing Heliolisk on just kind of put me on a bit of an alert. I do have resists for everything on my team. If he locks in a Grass Knot, I have the Vileplume and the Scizor. If he locks in a T-Bolt, I have the Palisand and Raichu. If he locks in a Focus Blast, I have the Palisand and the Raichu. The Vileplume. If he locks in a Hyper Voice, I have the Scizor, and that's it. and the Palisand. So if he locks in a Dark Pulse, I have the Greninja, I suppose, and the Snorlax to deal with that. It's an unstabbed Dark Pulse from a Heliolisk, so it's not too big of an issue for me. I'm going to elect to lead with Greninja, which I wanted to lead with from the start because against him. I wanted to kind of bluff if I was Sash or something, like maybe from a Spikes lead, and he leads Lele. He doesn't want to potentially risk a Sash Gunk shot. Then I could get like info on the Lele, see if it's like Scarf immediately, if I switch out, if he goes out first. So yeah, I'm actually going to lead with Greninja. And I believe my opponent is going to lead with Aggron. He leads with Crook, and that's amazing for me. That's like best matchup. I'm just gonna go for the Ice Beam. He doesn't really like his obvious switch in his Vaporeon, so maybe I should have just taunted immediately. But I'm going to Ice Beam, and I'm gonna do the damage, and I'm gonna do nothing, and I'm gonna see that this is a Fizdef Vaporeon, and I'm gonna get a freeze on it. So that's good info. The freeze obviously forces him to Scald. So I should just go into Vileplume and take advantage of this. But knowing that he's going to Scald to thaw himself, I actually want to go for a taunt and stop him from getting up a Wish, so I can force him to Scald again and then go into Vileplume on the next turn. I really should have just gone into Vileplume immediately, but I didn't want him to get up a Wish on something and then get a free switch into anything on my Vileplume, so that is going to be my play, as well as the fact that I don't want to really benefit from a freeze, I guess, first turn of the season. So I'm going to taunt him, I'm going to swallow Scald damage, and for my foolishness, I get a burn, so that's really unfortunate. Greninja gets really worse throughout the whole game. It's very low, and I'm Life Orb, and I'm burned, so I am going to go Vileplume, though, because he is forced to Scald again, because I don't expect him to... I expect him to have Wish Protect Heal Bell in his last 3 slots, to be honest. Like, Heal Bell just makes a lot of sense against my team, as he does, in fact, go for Scald. So no flip turn there, so that's pretty nice to see. I'm going to go for a Sleep Powder as he goes into his D-Knight, which is the switch-in I expected. So I'm going to go ahead and Strength Sap this thing. Or no, I'm going to Sludge Bomb to break his multi-skill, and then I'm going to Strength Sap. Eventually I'll Strength Sap, but I'm going to go into Palisand and go for a Shadow Ball to keep him relatively low. And then I'm going to Toxic him, because he's reached the max number of sleep turns as he goes for a Roost and reveals that. So that's good info to have. I'm just going to just keep attacking this. Break his multi-skill, force him to Roost, and stuff along those lines. Here I'm going to, I think I Shore Up, which is a bit ambitious. I really expected him to expect me to attack again and then just do a Wing Beat me for damage, and then get a free switch into like Heliolisk and then go for Grass Knot or go into his Vaporeon off that or something. I expected him to not Roost Up, is what I'm saying, but I probably should have just Shadow Balled and kept the chip going. Either way, I think shoring up isn't a terrible play, but yeah, if he did attack me, I got rewarded. If he just healed, that's fine. I can just go for damage, or I can just spam Shore Up anyway. So I'm actually going to obviously click Shore Up again here, as the dual Wing Beat does over half which is very unfortunate, but that's fine. I can outstall this thing. I'm just gonna Shadow Ball because I don't expect him to stay in on this turn. Even if he does, he's gonna go for Roost. He's not gonna go for Dual Wing Beat again. So yeah, if he Roost goes up to full, I Shadow Ball him. He takes toxic damage. He's already at half health again, pretty much. So I don't expect him to attack. But if he does, I can just shore up on probably the Aggron later. So now I just want to go for damage, and then I catch the Vaporeon coming in. Here I probably could have just gone for Toxic, because if he's bringing this in at flat, he's just going to go for Heal Bell, and if I can get the poison on it immediately, I'm in a good spot. Plus I can tank a Scald anyway, and like I said, I can heal up on the Aggron later, or I can heal up on like the D-Knight going for Dragon Dance, one Dragon Dance maybe. So I should have just Toxic'd, but I'm actually going to just go straight into Vileplume, which I think is fine for me, either way, because now I can just go for a Sleep Powder and catch whatever wants to come in. Or no, and then I'm going to miss the Vaporeon. If I put this to sleep, that would have been really nice. But I'm going to go for a double Sleep Powder because he's obviously going to go into Dragonite to wish it up. And there's really not much I can do about that besides fish for a poison. So Heat Baton Passes actually shows that to me, so I'm pretty sure he doesn't have Protect. So I thought his last move would be Protect, but I go for Sludge Bomb. Never mind, I try to keep the Dragonite low and maybe try to poison it. In hindsight, I should have just gone for... I do poison it. I should have just probably gone for Sleep Powder again. But yeah, I Sludge Bomb the Dragonite. He's going to Dual Wing Beat me, and I'm not going to take very much. I knew I could take one. I just wanted to see how much damage it would do. I guess I calced it, I'm pretty sure, I think, during the game. I don't know, but I wanted to Strength Sap this and get my health up, pretty much. If he roosted, that was fine. I figured he would do anything but Dragon Dance. He could have Dragon Dance. That would have been pretty unfortunate, but I would have kept him at neutral attack anyway, so... Yeah, now I'm going to stay and I'm going to Strength Sap again because this isn't doing anything to me, even if he crits one. I actually expected the switch there. Again, this battle was a month ago, I forgot. I should have just watched the replay before. But I figured I would Strength Sap again there. That makes more sense than Sleep Powdering because I keep myself high if he attacks me, and then I lower his attack. I keep him at -1 if he DDs. If he roosts, that's no big deal. I expected the... I don't know what I really expected to come in there, to be honest, because nothing... I guess Aggron on the Sludge Bomb makes a lot of sense, so maybe that was my thought process. I Sludge Bomb the incoming... Or I Sleep Powder the incoming Aggron, and from there I can do my work. But now I'm going to Strength Sap. He switches in the Lele because I kind of have to Strength Sap. I put myself in a worse position by clicking Sleep Powder there instead of Sap again. So that was a nice play on his part. He Dual Wing beats me, does the damage, and then forces me to do that. I Strength Sap, and then here I'm going to take advantage of my Piapple Berry, but I'm not going to damage the Lele because he has a decent amount of opportunities to Wish with his Vaporeon later. Like if he's against my Snorlax, he can potentially Wish up and pass it. Against my Palisand, maybe. Because I'd be forced to switch. Like there's like a decent amount of turn. Like the odds that he gets up a Wish and passes it to his Lele are decent. I would have to play pretty aggressive, and then he could like take advantage of that by going into like a full health Heliolisk, taking a hit, and then wishing that back up to full, or do stuff with his Crook, do stuff with his D-Knight. You know, like the Sludge Bomb damage is really nice to have, but I actually think I'd rather have this thing be asleep. So I'm gonna go ahead and Sleep Powder this instead of Sludge Bombing for the damage. So I'm going to Strength Sap and chip down the Vaporeon, attack stat, and then I'm gonna go for a I'm gonna go for a Sludge Bomb here. No, I go for Giga Drain to heal myself up. There you go. I reveal my last move right there. I figured I'd Giga Drain there, but yeah, I'm gonna double Giga Drain as he brings in the Lele. No, I Sleep Powder again, dude. Watch your battles next time, by the way, people. That's the lesson of the day. Watch your battles. So I go for Sleep Powder. I'm going to miss the incoming Lele, which is very unfortunate. I have to switch out, but the Psychic Terrain is down, so I can very reliably go into my Scizor. Pre-Mega, I can tank anything from this. So that's kind of nice to see. As he goes for the Moonblast, expecting my Greninja to come in. So I play that perfectly. I'm going to go ahead and U-turn, I believe. Yes, Roosting probably was a better play there, but I expected the Vaporeon to come in, and I want to keep it low. So yeah, I do that. Or the Aggron. I expected either of those two to come in. And I don't want to stay in there against a Heat Crash or Fire... I don't even know if it gets Heat Crash. Just an Aggron that can potentially do a lot of damage to me. Kill me with that Moonblast damage, potentially, even. So I go ahead and U-turn, the Vaporeon comes in, I go into my Raichu, and I click Focus Blast, and I gain a lot of momentum that way. Because now I can see that his Crocodile is fully specially defensive off that damage. Which means this next Focus Blast is not only in his favor to dodge, but is a roll to kill him, so this is not worth taking that risk, so I'm just going to go into my fully Fizzed Out Vileplume as he gets up a knockoff on me, so... Was I Effect Spore? Please tell me I was Effect Spore. Okay, I thought I was an idiot and wasn't. So yeah, I come in, eat a knockoff very effectively, and go for a Giga Drain. Here. On the next turn, I believe, I go for a Giga Drain. So I Sleep Powder the incoming Lele. He expected a Giga Drain. He wanted to swallow that with his Lele and then potentially get some momentum on me. Because Psychic is, yeah, with my Scizor weakened, that's kind of bad. But thankfully I land the Sleep Powder. I didn't expect him to stay in. I actually expected the D-Knight to come in. So, yeah, I'm glad I could catch the Lele with that. And now I'm going to go for a Giga Drain because he's not staying in and eating a Sludge Bomb. And I get some damage off on the Aggron while healing my Vileplume. So that's nice. I'm going to go ahead and switch in Palisand. I want to scout to see what this thing's going to do as he goes for an Iron Defense. So that is pretty scary. I actually expect Rest Talk on this now, maybe with the... maybe not Rest Talk, maybe just like Rest and then Body Press and Heavy Slam or something like that. So I'm going to go for a Scorching Sands because I can't really afford to do anything else. The D-Knight's going to come in and I'm going to Toxic it as he respectful. So now I think I can afford to stay on my Palisand pretty handily here, but I'm going to go into Raichu. I'm expecting a DD or the Vaporeon to come in. One of those two plays I actually fully expected to see. I more so expected the Vaporeon to come in than I expected a DD there, because I thought he would want to try and get this opportunity to Wish, Heal Bell, do all that bullshit, but he DDs. So I can go to my Raichu, get some Volt Switch damage, and then bring back in the Palisand. So that is what I'm going to do. Volt Switch. He's going to get up another Dragon Dance, I believe, here. No, he's going to Roost. If he DD'd again, that could have been dangerous, but I could, at that point, just spam attacks and sack my Palisand to deal with the D-Knight. That's perfectly fine with me. I think that's actually what I'm going to end up doing here anyway. As he sets up another Dragon Dance, I'm going to go for a Shore Up, make sure I'm at full HP if he wants to attack me. And now I'm going to go for a Scorching Sands, expecting him to Roost. But that's okay, because he's in range of 2 Toxic turns. He can't really afford to Roost again. A Shadow Ball puts him in range of Toxic anyway if he Roosts, because it does like 30%, so he's going to trade his Dragonite for my Palisand, and that's a trade I'm relatively okay with. It sucks that my main Aggron switch-in isn't there to bring in anymore, but, I mean, obviously it's a +2 D-Knight and it's dead, so that is the trade that I'm going to be forced to make. So I'm going to go into Greninja. I actually expected the Crocodile to come in on the Double Down. Now that I think about it, in hindsight, that was kind of stupid. But I'm glad the Aggron came in. Also, maybe the Vaporeon, but the Vaporeon kind of gets shit on by like everything except Vileplume can't kill it right away, and then it can wish up on Snorlax. But if I go Snorlax in the Double Down, I'm kind of a crackhead. So I'm going Greninja. I felt like made the most sense. And here I'm going to go for some Dark Pulse. Maybe I'm going to go for a Dark Pulse, try and get a flinch. But he's going to Iron Defense, expecting my switch, I suppose. But getting damage on this was really nice because it puts it in range of Raichu. So at this point, I kind of want to get everything down to Raichu range. Because once I kill the Crocodile, Raichu kind of just goes crazy. So yeah, the Aggron's going to switch out as... I'm going to go into Scizor as he switches into Heliolisk. And here, I go for a U-turn as he goes for Hyper Voice. I go for Roost as he goes for Hyper Voice. And then I'm going to U-turn as he goes for another Hyper Voice. When I go into my Raichu here, I expect him to think that I'm Scarf because I'm going into it. And by that, I don't know what that Hyper Voice damage was. I actually didn't calc that. It probably wasn't... It's probably some kind of boosting item. Maybe Specs, I don't know. Because I feel like that did a lot. But here, I don't expect him to stay in. I just expect him to go into, like, Crook. So I go into my Scizor, and he Hyper Voices again, and I'm really confused, and I lose my Scizor because of it, so... Or no, I don't lose my Scizor. I go into my Snorlax. I'm forced to use my Snorlax for this. I really just didn't expect him to want to stay in there. I felt like that didn't make any sense at all, to be honest. But yeah, he wanted to sack his Heliolisk. I felt like he would just switch out, because that's what most people would do. So, yeah, he's going to go into Crook. I'm going to Body Slam it, and I'm just going to sack a lot of my health on my Snorlax to deal with this Crook, because if this Crook is dead, I can spam Thunderbolt pretty effectively with my Raichu, because everything's looking low at this point, and Lele hasn't slept at all. He decides to get up rocks instead of killing my Lax, which I will definitely take that. Yeah, Greninja is kind of in a bad spot now, but hey, what you gonna do? So now I go into Raichu. It's obvious he's gonna Wish. I have to go for Volt. Or no, I go for Volt Switch. No, I go for T-Bolt. As he tries to pass it to his Aggron. He could have tried to pass it to his Lele and then burn off some sleep turns, because T-Bolt's not doing too much to that. I feel like that was probably a better play. But he doesn't have Protect on his Vaporeon, so he either has to sack this, sack the Heliolisk, sack the Aggron. Something, he's got to try and get a Wish on something. But now he's going to go into his Lele, and I'm actually going to go hard Greninja here, because I'm I actually didn't think his Lele would be Scarfed, but again, in hindsight, it's pretty obvious that Scarf Lele makes the most sense. I just didn't think he had enough coverage. I figured, I don't know, some kind of Calm Mindset was best, but I Dark Pulse, I kill half the Lele, Greninja's gonna go down, and now I'm gonna go into my Raichu, because I need Volt Switch damage on this to kill with T-Bolt, so I Volt, I sack my Scizor, which wasn't the best play. I should have sacked Snorlax instead, but it really doesn't matter. He's asleep. I'm gonna go for Iron Head, just in case he wants to do something weird. He Psychics, knocks out my Scizor, and then I can just come in with Raichu, quick Thunderbolt 3 times, down goes the Lele, down goes the Heliolisk to another Thunderbolt, and down will go the Vaporeon, and I'm going to collect 4 kills with a regular-ass fucking Raichu, and pick up a 3-0 win week 1. So, some plays I could have made that were better throughout that game, but I'm actually pretty happy with how I played that, so that's nice. I'm glad I picked up a 3-0 win. I was really surprised by that Hyper Voice from the Heliolisk, but I put him in a much worse position against the Raichu in general. I mean, he was just not in a good position against Raichu anyway to begin with, so... once I got damage on the Lele, yeah, I benefited a lot from him not getting a first-turn Wake, but that is also in my favor, so... Yeah, yeah, it's a good win. Yeah, I liked the Dark Pulse over Gunk Shot, because Gunk Shot wasn't killing because I was burned. It did more damage, but it also could miss, so... Just in case that rationale doesn't make much sense. So, yeah. Thank you all for watching, and week 2 will go up soon. Thank you. Have a nice day. Take care. Bye-bye. I will watch the replay next time.